Welcome back everyone to another episode of my Flipping to Max Set series. I know it has been a ridiculous amount of time since the last episode. We're going to talk a bit about why that is and a bit about the future near to the end of the episode, so stay tuned. Flipping to Max Set is my long-term goal of trying to get the most expensive item for every item slot in pay-to-play. So here are the items that I need to collect, and I've already gotten a few of them so far, with one big purchase actually being made in the last episode. We just bought ourselves an Elysian Spirit Shield for 600 mil. Hurrah! Looks pretty good, we're making a decent amount of progress, but in the last 9 months, a lot has changed, in particular for the prices of these specific items. Now back in January, if I totaled up the cost of all the items I needed to acquire, the 3rd Age Pickaxe, Druidic top and bottom, the Torva helm, Elysian, all of it together, it was somewhere around 7 to 9 bill. That is an insane amount of money, but if you flip forward to today, things have changed and they have not gotten easier. The price of 3rd Age has absolutely skyrocketed, specifically in the last couple of months. And I'm holding on to hope that this might be a bit temporary, and obviously there's a huge amount of manipulation in this sector of the market in particular. But if we take today's prices, the 3rd Age Pickaxe is somewhere around 7 to 8 bill. It appears there are sales at that amount. The 3rd Age Druidic top and bottom are now over max cash. Who knows how much? Again, it's really hard to tell. I'm just gonna put them at max cash for now. The 3rd Age Druidic Cloak is at 1.4 bill. And hey, my Elysian went up 60 mil, so that's a plus. Now you notice items I purchased already have a lock symbol on it. Now the idea is that once I get an item, that item is locked in. So back over a year ago, some of these items were the most expensive. For example, the Light Bearer was the most expensive ring. That's not the case anymore. Now this rule is really in place just so I don't have to keep swapping items out. Realistically though, the Light Bearer should be the Altar ring and I might just end up buying it at that point. It's now peanuts compared to the total amount of money I need to acquire. How much is that? Well, it has doubled theoretically since a year ago. So we need to acquire around 15 to 20 bill now to complete this series. Don't worry though, we are not giving up. We just have to keep trying. Now the reality behind why this video took so long to come out kind of just comes down to a comedy of errors I just continued to make over the last year. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, we made a bunch of mistakes and every time we lost a lot of money, I got kind of demotivated. That's pretty much the short answer as to why this video has taken so long. No, I've not been flipping for 7 months. I've taken a pretty significant break, but we're back. Okay, let's look at the cash stack here. We're still, well, a bit over max cash, even with the purchase of the Elysian. So we do have a lot of money, even with our recent purchases. Everything in, we're probably close-ish to 3 bill, but that's not enough money, so we gotta make more. Now, as per usual, the easiest way to make an investment is to look at what new content is coming to the game. Prices change drastically whenever new content comes, and the biggest update that is coming soon, the Wilderness Boss rework. Now combat gear generally is going to go up a lot, but one item that I think could increase in value a lot is the Blighted Super Restore. It's significantly cheaper than it was 3 months ago, and it's still a lot cheaper than a regular Super Restore, and with a lot of hype and demand coming into the Wilderness, on top of one of the new bosses draining your prayer significantly, that being Venenatus, I'm hopeful that prayer will be very in demand and the Blighted Super Restore will be the most cost-effective option at this price point. So we're gonna put a pretty big offer in at around 6,900, and we're gonna go for 100,000. So a 700 mil investment, fingers crossed. So we were gone for a long time. So let's have a look at our offer history here. We got 2 flips. So first one, we made 3.2 mil on a Zerite crossbow. We'll take that. The second one, our merch didn't work out very well. We bought them for 6,800. We sold them mostly for 5,700. So we lost about 1,000 GP on each potion. So what happened here? Well, I blame Jagex. No, it's my own fault. So although I think the idea theoretically was good, what ended up happening is when the bosses came out, their drop tables were actually loaded with potions. All the new reworked bosses dropped Blighted Super Restores, regular Super Restores, And not only did they drop them very frequently. So that kind of killed all of the demand for these items, and they were naturally trending downwards, I would guess due to bots maybe. So in the end, we lost about 130 mil on this. Stings, you know, it's not a terrible loss, all things considered, but it doesn't feel great, and it took a long time to buy and sell all of it. So 130 mil loss. So looking forward, the next big content release that's coming out is actually Forestry. Now there's a couple of interesting items we could invest in for this update. Now there's an interesting item coming out pretty soon, Nature's Offering. Nature's Offering is going to be a new item from Forestry that will give you a chance of doubling a log when you harvest it. Now the only thing we really know so far is that to make Nature's Offering, you are going to need a herb, and you can use any herb to make it. Presumably higher tier herbs will give you more Nature's Offerings or a higher effect, but no guarantee on that. With that said though, the highest tier herb Torsal is actually one of the cheaper ones, and you have to use a Vanto or higher. So I think if we're going to invest into a herb for this, we might as well choose the highest level one, because it's really not that more expensive honestly. Now it has already risen up a little bit, but only about 25%, so I think there still could be a fair bit of room to grow. We're going to try to invest into the regular Torsal and the grimy Torsal, both around 3,800. We're going to go for 100,000 of each of them. And another item to go along with Forestry that will be a bit of a lower tier investment, but seems like pretty much a guaranteed win, is cooked meat. You need this to make Forester's rations, and you're going to need the Forestry rations to be able to get access to the new best woodcutting experience in the game, that coming from two-handed axes. It's a bit of a convoluted system, but essentially Forestry rations are required to use the two-handed axe, which gets you more experience. Now requiring specifically cooked meat is kind of insane to me. It's not a very popular item and not very easy to obtain in bulk. Pretty much have to cook it yourself or buy it from a few select stores. So either way, I think 80 GP is an absolute steal. The only issue is we can only buy 6,000 at a time, so we're going to try to buy a ton of these. We're going to go for 500,000 for now. It's only a 42 mil investment, but I think this could easily double or triple even more if we're patient. Whoa, I don't remember buying all these weird items. I'm going to have to make a couple calls. Yeah, apparently I have bad cybersecurity and I should have been using NordVPN the whole time, the sponsor of today's video. NordVPN is an all-in-one solution that keeps you safe in the wild world of the modern internet. Nowadays, cybersecurity is incredibly important with rampant scams, phishing attempts, and other malicious attacks being very common. NordVPN will, for starters, protect you by encrypting all of your data. This prevents any bad actors from stealing it in the first place, but for information you've already given out to, say, a third-party website, you can monitor for leaked data with Dark Web Monitor. Database breaches happen all the time. For example, I just learned Duolingo had a pretty significant database breach this year, and being alerted to it is very important because now I can take appropriate precautions and change my passwords. One of my favorite things about NordVPN is it allows you to watch content from anywhere in the world. For example, I wanted to recently watch the Asian Games League of Legends tournament, but it's held in Huanzhou, China. Pretty much impossible to find a stream link in Canada, but we can easily change our location and we're good to go. I find NordVPN honestly super helpful, and you can try it risk-free as they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Right now, NordVPN's even offering a pretty big discount to my channel viewers. All you have to do is go to nordvpn.com/oldschool or use the link in my description to get 4 extra months for free with a purchase of a 2-year plan. So a great time to pick it up, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so we waited about a week and we're able to buy pretty much all of our Torsals already. Those didn't take that long to come through. And cooked meat we bought so far, it looks like about 100,000. Very slow to buy, but I think once the Forestry update comes out, we'll be able to unload these very easily. Still buying them for around 84 each. The price really hasn't risen too much on them yet, which is kind of surprising, honestly. Okay, we're gonna claim our offers here because the price has risen up a bit. They're not relevant anymore, but we ended up with about 130,000 cooked meat. I wish we'd been able to get more, but we ended up with 130,000 of them. Now, another item I wanted to make a shorter term investment into is actually the enhanced crystal teleport seed. With the woodcutting update coming out, the crystal axe I think could be more in demand, which should theoretically bump up the price of the enhanced crystal teleport seed. On top of it already being at a pretty low price historically, I think this is a pretty safe investment. probably only hold on to this for a month, maybe at most, maybe only a couple weeks, honestly. But we'll put an offer in at around 1.8 mil, and we'll go for, oh my god, did we just insta-buy those? We already got 100 of them. So it is the night before Forestry, and cooked meat has actually spiked up a lot. I'm not sure whether I want to wait until the update actually comes out or sell it today, but I think I'm gonna sell it today, or at least try to. Cooked meat is going for 330 each, which means although we are tripling our initial investment, unfortunately we were only able to invest about 11 mil into these. So we spent 11 mil and we're able to sell them for 43 mil, which is about a 30 mil profit, which would have been amazing if our cash stack wasn't over 2 mil. But hey, we'll still take 30 mil. We also slowly bought another 100 enhanced teleport seeds, which means we're up to 300. We're gonna sell them back for 2 mil. Not a huge profit, but should still be about a 35 mil profit, which isn't half bad. Okay, so Forestry has been out for around a week now. So good news and bad news. Good news is we did make some money on these 2 items on the right, the ones that have sold off. We managed to sell all the cooked meat for about a 30 mil profit, and all the enhanced crystal teleport seeds for 35, like I had mentioned. The somewhat disappointing news is that the biggest monetary investment I made, Torsil, hasn't really gone up in price at all. Actually, we're gonna lose a couple hundred GP as it stands currently. Not the end of the world, but for the amount of time and money we invested here, kind of a waste. But currently, we're hardly losing much money at all, so if we can sell them back, I won't be too unhappy. So we did have a 15 mil profit on the day, but these silly log braces I accidentally forgot about overnight. Lost 10 mil on these things, sad. So I think I should have been a little bit more patient on the crystal seeds. So not only are the two-handed axes not actually released in the first batch, I thought they were. It's really confusing. They split this update into 2 parts. Forester's rations don't even have a use yet, but they're in the game for some reason. The two-handed axes aren't, but it's terribly confusing. But the main point is that I think enhanced crystal teleport seeds will probably continue to go up in price a bit more. So even though we sold them, we're gonna actually rebuy some at about 2100 and just try to do a couple of quick flips on them. If we get a 100k profit per seed and we can just flip 100 per day, I mean, that's 10 mil pretty easily. Yeah, exactly, just like that. Wake up, 10 mil profit. This is a pretty nice, easy item to do it on. Another good option is the crystal armor seed. Pretty similar fluctuations per day of about 100k to 200k. So we just kind of put a conservative offer in overnight at, say, around 5 mil. Should be some pretty easy money. Yeah, look at that, easy 6.6 mil profit in around 12 hours. So we're just kind of distracting ourselves as we slowly sell off these torsals. We're trying to be patient and not dump them too quickly because as is, we're not losing much money, but if we get impatient, sell them for a couple hundred GP less, we've now lost a decent amount of money. In the last 24 hours though, 30 mil in profit just from flipping crystal seeds, armor seeds, and teleport seeds. A pretty good strategy that's been working well for us pretty much every day. Okay, finally we're able to sell off all of our regular torsals for 3,500, which unfortunately means we lost 30 mil on that. Bigger issue though is just we had to waste a lot of time and it had our money tied up for a long time, but at least we didn't lose much. So an item that's really interesting to me is the Forester's Ration. Like I was kind of rambling about earlier, this item's in the game. You can make it, you can buy it on the Grand Exchange, but it doesn't really have much of a use. Forester's Rations are going to be required to use the two-handed axe, which is going to come into the game sometime in September. Two-handed axes give less logs but more experience per hour, which means using a two-handed axe will give you the best experience for woodcutting, and it's a relatively significant increase. So Forester's Rations are going to be really in demand once the axes come into the game, so I think they're a pretty good idea to make an investment into. So we're going to try for 100,000 for now, but they're really slow to buy, and we might have to adjust our prices. Okay, so we finally have some big offers coming through. We ended up buying 300 enhanced crystal teleport seeds for around 2171, and we're gonna hold on to those for a little while. On top of that, we've been slowly buying Forester's Rations for between 300 and 400 for the most part. And to top it off, our grimy torsals are finally selling off for 3450. It's been a long process, but in the end, we ended up losing 20 mil on the grimy torsals. It's not the end of the world. So over the last couple of months, we have been slowly buying Forester's rations for a variety of different prices. Right now, we just bought 200,000 of them for $275, so that's a bit on the cheaper end. Altogether, we're probably averaging around 300 GP per ration. You can see we bought some for a couple $100,000 for $262. Now on top of that, we also sold off our enhanced crystal teleport seeds for nearly 2.6 mil, so that was actually a pretty significant profit. Now we bought them all for 650 mil, and we're able to sell them for 770. So actually a 120 mil profit on the teleport seeds, very, very nice. Probably our most successful merch in, oh god, a long time. And if you look in our bank, we have slowly acquired 750,000 Forester's rations. So much. I kind of want to get a million, just a nice clean million. Okay, so some news. We weren't quite able to acquire a million rations, and maybe that's for the best, although we did get 937,000. So Forestry Part 2 was supposed to be out by now. It has been delayed multiple times. It had betas canceled, and one important thing that I really didn't notice at the time, public sentiment for the update, pretty negative. Personally, I was excited for Forestry, although yes, two-handed axes and Forestry rations were a little bit convoluted. I didn't see a huge issue with it, but a lot of people have, and Jagex is making some changes to two-handed axes and Forester's rations. Now previously, the way it was supposed to work is it was going to require stamina to use the two-handed axe. It would drain your run energy very quickly, but the Forester rations would restore run energy also very quickly. But on September 25th, they announced that they're going to be scrapping this mechanic altogether. Now rations are not out, they still are going to be used and required to use the two-handed axe. Now though, simply you're just going to need them in your inventory, and it will consume rations at a similar rate. That in itself doesn't screw me over, but there's another change that, oh my god, not what you want to see. So previously you were only able to make Forester's rations with cooked meat and leaves of any sort. You get 3 rations regardless, and they're kind of hard to obtain. But today they updated how that's going to work, and now it's kind of trivial to get them. You can now use any type of cooked meat or fish on leaves to get a vast amount more than you could before. If you use a magic leaf on like a shark, that will get you 48 rations per combination, so significantly more. And there's no way the price of rations have not absolutely cratered, and we have nearly 1 million of them. I'm honestly scared to check the price. We have invested nearly 300 mil into these rations, and oh my god, 186 GP, that's honestly not as bad as I thought. I think we definitely should try to sell as many at this price point as possible. I just don't see how these are going to hold any value because they're so much easier to acquire. You can make them way quicker. So I think their price is going to plummet when the update finally comes out. So at this point, we are really just trying to see how little money we can lose. If we can sell them all for 176, I would be pretty happy. But we're going to have to wait until the next episode. Hopefully by then I will have sold most of these off, but we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back much sooner with another episode of this. We've already made another investment actually, but I didn't want to spoil it till next time. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I'll see you next time.